So today we have someone who's in business, who's very creative, creates music, inspirational music of what slightly different kind. As many would call him an amazing coach as well. And he describes himself as a polymath. And today we're welcoming to Spark Infinity, Hugh Shearar. Hugh, how are you?
Hello, David. How are you? Great to see you. Yeah, very good. Thanks. It's been a good day. It's not always like that, but today is one of those days. How are
Awesome.
you? Yeah, good
Oh,
to see
I'm
you.
always good.
I'm looking
And
forward to seeing Jody. It looks like he's here, but camera starting
yeah,
to work, I think.
oh, yeah, hopefully
Yeah,
just having some camera troubles at the moment.
yeah.
But Hugh, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your background and the
Mm,
things that you're passionate about?
sure. I mean, do you want the long story, the short story?
You're welcome to tell a long story. This is what we're all
Okay.
about here.
All right. Well, fine. So I was born in South Africa in the kind of height of apartheid many years ago. And interestingly enough, Elon Musk happened to be 2 years behind me at the same school where we received the same sort of early childhood abuse that the schools were giving people in those days, these corporal punishment schools, and especially with apartheid, teaching people to hate. It was a tough time. My parents were political and anti that, so they had to leave all their wealth, and we left South Africa in 1978 and moved to Canada, where we live. And I grew up here, young kid, bit of a fighter, always creative though. I remember, going back when I was a kid, the one thing that kept me going was drawing and painting. Just going, if I was frustrated, going and drawing a picture, going and painting a painting of something. And I moved to Canada. It wasn't that easy for me settling into Canada. I was a different kid, spoke with a different kind of language, so people kind of tormented a bit. And but for me, I kind of fought my way through school, no pun intended, in all areas, academically and physically. And I started because of that way of being. Actually, I didn't accept what I was being taught either. I didn't think that I was being taught effectively. So I decided at about age 16, I was going to, take control of my own life, and decided to become an entrepreneur. And I'd already been painting houses. In those days, we went to work early, paper route when you're in grade 7 sort of thing. And then, started work at, about 14, 15 painting houses. And within 2 years had my own painting business. And that's how entrepreneurship started for me. And then graduated from high school and went through the YMCA, federal government sponsored entrepreneur program. I know this is all about entrepreneurship and innovation and creativity. And
Mhm.
they always continued being just drawing and creating. I finished that program. By the time I was 19, I was importing products as well. I had a renovation company, a firewood splitting business, and I was importing products from Hong Kong and the US, and paid for myself to go to college, and took science. Was considering becoming an archaeologist of all things, but really fascinated with geology and all things history and also science. I'm a bit of a nerd, I would say, around some things, like really into, or geek, shall I say. I'm really into science. I'm into anything that stimulates the mind, spirituality, anything to wake up consciousness. Jody, hello, great to see you, bud. Yeah, so I just sharing a bit about my life, and then I went to I decided to, after 2 years of to Capilano College here in Vancouver, British Columbia, to go to the British Columbia Institute of Technology, where I studied robotics and automation. I had this invention I wanted to build, an engine that ran on water, and figured it out. And then it was that was an interesting time. I also studied computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing, and then carried on in business. I'm not somebody who studies. I had I'd been running my renovation business for a long time, and by around age 25, I was getting tired of that, and I was kind of wanting to look for my purpose in life. There's got to be something greater than just painting and making. I mean, that's making good money. There's nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to do something and different. I did. It was kind of fun. I did this thing called the Men's Weekend, a rite of passage into manhood, and just dialed into a large community, something that I wasn't present to before. That got me engaged in team leadership, learning to lead teams, run organizations, that sort of thing, that get involved in leadership and really helping men and women. We were a men's and women organization. And then there was a point where that got a little bit tiring too. And I broke my ankle in a river rafting trip and sat there for 3 months and contemplated my life. My life changed
Wow.
that year. And they say break a leg, right?
Mhm.
I did. And I went on the road and worked as a pitchman. I got a job as a pitchman. It changed my life completely. Got out of the renovations business. Slices it, dices it, chops it, whips. Come on by, I'll give you some chips, hot slaw, coleslaw, Piccadilly chow chow, jambalaya, gumbo salsa, hash browns. All you got to do is turn the handle around. It was quite a time. 2 years on the road doing that, pitching to large groups of people, a Ginsu knife and quick chopper. And on that road, I kept driving into cities, and I kept seeing this plaque, Freemasons. And I'd heard all these conspiracy theories, and I said to myself, what is this Freemasonry thing? And I ended up in Toronto and walked into a Masonic lodge and said, what are you guys all about? I just got curious. And they said, well, we're a brotherhood, fraternity that, we're all about learning about wisdom and understanding, who you are and your place in the world. And I said, well, how does one become a Freemason? They said, well, you got to know one. I said, well, I don't. They said, well, you do now. So I became a Freemason. That's when I think my journey really began. Upon getting my Master Mason degree, which took about 7 months to do that. I don't know why they pushed me through. I think I'd studied a lot of esoteric knowledge, but so they moved me through that. And at the end of it, I was brokenhearted. I'd been engaged, and that didn't work out. And some guy came up to me and said, "Would you like to go work and teach English in China?" And this is in 2001. I said, okay. I wasn't doing anything else, so I said, "Okay, pardon my language, but F it, I'm going." I went to China. I got on the road and headed off to China, where I didn't know what the heck I was doing as a teacher. I'd never really learned how to be an English teacher, and frankly, it wasn't my best subject. But I'd learned to be a pitch man and be in front of a lot of people, and I'd play music as well, and I could stand up and sing songs to people. They loved that. I very quickly got the opportunity to teach. My girlfriend at the time got me to bring a curriculum over from Canada to implement into the school, and they were like, "Wow, this guy's amazing." They gave me the job actually running the schools because of my business background, and so I ended up setting up schools in China and training people how to teach English. And we had about 3,000 people, 3,000 students at some point, and about 50 employees and 30 English teachers. It was quite a job. I had always dreamed of going to China and studying Kung Fu when I was younger, so I got an opportunity to study Kung Fu there. And really, I got some pictures of me bending spears with my throat and having bricks broken over my head, which is pretty wild. This is it's a pretty wild ride. And in that time, there was a breakdown with that teaching profession, and I'd already started looking at doing manufacturing. Somebody asked me if I could help them because they knew that I had background in that and contracting and international trade already. And so I decided, well, if I could help him, maybe I should put an advertisement up to see if I could help other people do manufacturing in China. And I put up a website, and boom, next thing I know, I've got 30 people contacting me to do business. And HS China Connect, my business that I currently run now, which I started as a sourcing company and then moved into procurement and eventually into new product development, design, and international trade logistics. I went back to school and did a equivalent of like an MBA program, but it's more of a certificate for international trade. Yeah, that's the business there. So HS China Connect still exists, and what I do is I help inventors now design their products and bring their products to life. And we're almost going on 20 years now, and it's become one of those businesses. People dream of having a residual income. Well, a lot of the products that I've helped design and build now, it's just basically I just get repeat orders. I'm not a multimillionaire by any means from it, but I live a good life, and it's not bad. And I'm deciding to really kick that up a notch now. At COVID, it really hit me hard. I wasn't able to go back to China over that time, so some things slowed down. I was lucky my existing deals were working, and also in that time period, there's another thing that was there. I started, I'm curious and artistic, so I'm always working on design, and I was playing in a band over there, and I started doing these unfolded symmetries of deep space. And I didn't know I was going to do anything with it, but they were so cool, these deep clouds of space. And, that's now become Cosmic Artworks, which is just launching now. I still got to do some tweaking on the pricing because of all the changes going on politically. Shipping is getting disrupted with what's happening with Trump. These are the Cosmic Artworks, which is, there'll be a show I'll be doing on that and introducing the arts on YouTube. And love to invite you guys, Jody, other people to come and have talks with me on these and really dig deep into what these artworks do. They open up doors to, they're kind of like cosmic Rorschachs. It expands the mind. Some people get a bit scary because these are from clouds of space that these images arise. And, I serial entrepreneur, over that time period, a dream of mine as a young man was to build the business. And that's why part of moving to China, to build homes that we set up a website and you can order your home directly online. And there you have it there, affordable modular homes, adaptable DIY solutions. This is a new company that's been launched, Hoosley Homes. Our vision is to house humanity. Martin Luther King's dream that everybody has a home and an opportunity and food. And we can make this happen with economics of scale and building over there in India and China and some of these countries where things are more affordable and bring down the prices here. I mean, it's just extortionary if you want to buy a place where we live in Vancouver, it's almost impossible to get into the housing market at this point if you're young people. So this is our goal. And well, that's me, David. And you said it, I love to create music. I've been writing poems for a long time and just philosophy. Hi, Suzanna. How's it going? And I caused a team as well of about now 40 people of entrepreneurs and people who like to create projects in the world that it's alive. It's called Team to Infinity. Now, all of us met in a program, this team management and leadership program. So that's where I get to know you guys from, and probably why we're working here, doing what we're doing, right? To support others and bring our leadership and skills to humanity. And well, that's me, David, in a nutshell. And I have two sons.
Mm.
A wonderful former wife, and a wonderful girlfriend now too, new girlfriend. And life is exciting. I've chosen to live in an RV. It's called an adventure, and I've had an adventure for the last year. I'm about to give it up finally. I kind of had my time. I wanted to have the experience. So yeah, just life is funny. Bees make honey, and every day I wake, I look outside. It's sunny. Try to keep that positive vibe happening as well. Thanks for the
I've known.
invitation.
Oh yeah, thanks for being here. I've known bits and pieces about you, but you definitely filled in the cracks with everything you shared
Yeah,
there. So that's
that's the spiel.
fantastic.
But yeah, thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah. One thing I definitely related to was this whole thing of drawing and painting. Like that was my thing when I was a kid as well. It's almost like I came out of the womb with a paintbrush, and I would follow along with anything on
Okay.
TV, Sesame Street or Mr. Dress Up or whatever. If there was an arts and crafts segment, I'd be like, "Mom, give me this," and we wouldn't have everything, but I would just make do and try to create something out of whatever we had around the house. So I relate to that a lot. Mm. Another thing too is like, yeah, I went into a lot of different disciplines. I definitely have my focus this year, but I've gone into guitar and podcasting and live streaming and making videos and composing and writing. There's just many different disciplines that I've got into. So my question is, do you think there's any, like, as you describe yourself as a polymath, and clearly you've also delved into many different disciplines and are very spiritually informed or knowledgeable as well. So do you have any regrets being a polymath, or is that like the best way to live?
It was a choice, it was a choice. I thought, as a young man, I said, what can I be when I'm older? And I heard about being a Renaissance man. I looked at Leonardo da Vinci and I go, is it possible to do that in this time? And it's very exciting what's happening with AI and what we can conceive of and create so quickly now. It's bringing your ideas to life. A lot of people, say, well, that's just AI, but you know what? It takes actually something, the thought behind what's being generated. And I've been, I'm conceiving of homes being built from the nano level up. I call it a bucket of house, where a truck drives up and a bucket spills out, and boom, from a CAD drawing, you have a house, and it can look like wood. It can look like any material you want just from the design. And I'm working with AI for that. And it's fascinating. One of the things that's really fascinating me right now is the Hermetic tradition. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Hermes Trismegistus and from Egypt, and how the pattern, the 7 laws fit on the chakras of the body, and how our energy can be transformed, and how we can, actually do meditation and relate to each one of those principles. And it really does actually transform us. And through sacred geometry, we can do things with our body that I didn't even know was possible. I mean, it's what we're discovering and what we're learning, as I call it, the singularity approaches is going to be phenomenal. We are in fascinating times. And I see us here, and the creatives. I know all of us, 4 of us are creatives. I know Jody is an incredible artist and designer and musician, and Suzanna too. And we're all trained to be leaders and make the difference in the world. So really, it is exciting times. And it's one thing to stay on that plane of frequency, that there's something exciting when we see all the chaos that's going on in the world as well. Oh my God, we're going to become America. Is that what's going to happen? not if I can.
Who knows?
So,
It could happen, but yeah.
Wow.
Sacred geometry is an interesting topic. It's really only something I've probably touched on briefly in small doses, but can you expand upon that a little bit? Like, I understand there's different shapes, and they perhaps carry with them different spiritual energies or different meanings. Like, what does that all look like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts with the point, the point, it's geometry. It's all about, you start with a point, you move, and then it goes to a line, and these are the dimensions that we live in. Then you get to like the number 3, it's numbers as well, and you get to like a triangle, you get the first plane, and then these shapes form. And if you imagine that everything started like the Big Bang as a point, exploded into a circle, and then all these shapes and things that we find in our universe, symmetry, etc., where planets orbit around suns with gravity, with time, space, it's all relative, and it's all based on geometry, the geometries of scale, the platonic solids, etc. I'm honestly just getting into it, but I've been fascinated when I found out that Euclid's Elements was the second most read book on the planet after the Bible. Wow, there's got to be something there. And those people at that time, really any thought or any new concept they say is really a footnote to what Plato put down in his time. So these guys tapped into something really extraordinary. On all the walls of the ancient mystery schools, as they called them, was the plaque, "Don't enter in here unless you know geometry." Well, what does that mean? What do Pythagoras, we know the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. He was the one who figured out the notes and harmonics within music. And this was around 500 BC, with the music of the spheres. I mean, these are people really tapped in and dialed in. I'm looking back now, like, why are the pyramids shaped the way they are? There's knowledge and wisdom. I was just talking to you about the Gaia Network. There's some fascinating shows because we're
So about
archaeologists. Yeah.
Isn't that the what is it? The sacred geometry?
Yes. There's,
Yeah.
yeah, watch it with Dr. Gilbert. He's a fun guy, and he's just brilliant. He's a geometer who helps NASA a lot, to do the programming for spaceships. And yeah, just, it's a very interesting subject. I'm no expert. I'm beginning to learn, but I did do something which was interesting, a plant medicine journey. And I discovered that we, in the field around our body, are geometric shapes. Now, I've been now learning that we can, if we're sick, the actual geometry will be distorted in that field. And people who are adept at this can actually go in and alter the geometry in the field. And that automatically changes the DNA, which literally can heal people. So there's healing modalities. I think you're familiar with that. And certainly Carlo, so that is there. What do you think, Susanna?
I just found out too, like I just learned a week ago about the sacred geometry. And I also learned about, like, like if you're a healer, which I just discovered, I'm a transmuter and a channeler as well. So like I'm just learning how to use my power. So like if you picture the sacred geometry surrounding that person, like for example, a pyramid, you put them in a pyramid and you focus that energy in that pyramid on them, they get healed in that space. That's what I discovered just recently.
Well, that's perfect. And like in Sanskrit, or in the, like from India, the Ayurvedic, each chakra has a number of petals. So it's the number is associated with geometry. So we are that. I mean, don't they say the language of science and the language of God is mathematics, basically? And then then it goes from just the plain numbers, but to something that's sacred. So lots to learn and to discover.
So unless I misunderstood your story, it sounds like at one point you were feeling like you didn't want to go on. So the question is, what brought you to that point and what got you out of it? I would be a good human being, but a bad podcast host not to ask you. So
at 25 years old, heartbreak, love, the disappearance. Let's face it, all of us here, most of the troubles we've had when love has disappeared, or you felt like you're not loved. Am I right? Or nobody cares about you. And a girl broke my heart, and let's just say I let her open my heart by having her leave, and that took me out at about 25. And I didn't want to get up. I didn't care, like love, like that. I felt like I'd lost the love of my life. And us creative people are like that. We kind of can be a bit, emotion drives a lot of what we do. So I've had a few spaces like that, even recently, because of my family has broken apart. And I still love and care about my former wife, and but there's we deal with pain. And to get through that, David, is you just get through it. You do, like, you get through it as long as you don't take yourself out completely, and you get through it. And creating a future for ourselves is one of the keys. We all know that, having something that we can look forward to that has us doing that. So I'm now, that's why we're doing Hoosley Homes. That's why we're the artwork. So I have something to inspire myself to do that. And that's what I say. If you have a future, that's the key. That ontological piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing you and I share in common. Strange how my guests always seem to have parallels with me, but I also had a heartbreak around 25. That was pretty pivotal. So I definitely understand where you're coming from there. We've got a great question from the community. Yeah. You should know Maria, I think. And she's asking, what advice do you have for a solopreneur?
Yeah, that's an easy one to answer. Don't do it all by yourself. And yet what you can do, instead of hiring people and having staff, is learn how to work with outsourcing and collaboration. I found that my strongest skill is to create collaboration versus trying to have lots of employees. That takes something. So it's that's collaboration, but yeah, working with others is what's gonna have you be successful. Be willing to give. Go the extra mile. Give before you receive. Don't expect something until you've given something. That's the biggest thing that I've learned. So for my business with the design, it's I always do the initial design and consultation for free. Nobody else does that, so I always get the business. They want money upfront before they say anything. So I help people figure the thing out before we get going. Yeah.
Great tips. And that's really the main thing I've been learning lately too in the Bump program that I'm currently a part of. It's actually all about serving and contributing to others. And that's really the essence of people who are watching in the Facebook group right now. That's the essence of Spark Infinity. It's like we're here to put a spotlight and highlight people and showcase them and give them an opportunity like this to talk and share themselves with the world. Because it's just so valuable to hold that space and create that space for people.
I really acknowledge you for creating what you're creating here, and the people who are here who are supporting you, and the great questions you ask people. Let's put it this way. I'm not a guy who's just going to jump out into social media and put my face online. That takes something. So to have this, to come and know that others are doing it and we can participate together, that inspires me to do it. I've had to build up that courage. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I just wanted to include about with the heartbreak, or with knowing that when you feel that people don't care about you. I just wanted to share, since we're all in the same background together. I felt that before stepping into team. And I was in that part of my life where, like, nobody cares or stuff like that, at the lowest. And then, like, somebody just commented just recently on how I'm being right now. And I said, it's all because of team. That's it shifted the world for me. That knowing that, like, there are people out there who do care and want to be with you. And, it's just being in that live environment. And I just wanted to insert that, like, we all come from the background of team. And that's one of the miracles of team that I'm so happy to say. Yeah.
And you have really transformed, Suzanna. Like, wow. I mean, when I first met you, and you've stepped into leadership powerfully. You're a different person. You can really see that, like, amazingly. I froze her. Look at that. I just, that acknowledgement just froze her still.
I think there's a pretty good chance we'll have more people from the team management leadership program on here, including Maria, which will be a lot of fun. That'll be coming down the pike. One other thing, like, I think I would be a bad podcast host if I didn't delve into a little bit, would be Freemasonry. I've been fascinated by it. It's often talked about like there's many secrets in there, and maybe there are, and I'm not trying to pry necessarily.
The Illuminati?
The all-seeing eye,
yeah. Freemasonry, they put it like this, Freemasonry is a beautiful system of morality veiled in allegory. And they say it very simply. Everybody says we're a secret society. How can we be a secret society? You all know about us. It's not very secret when people know about you. But they are a society with secrets. And there's a reason why. It's kind of like, I look at it like Kung Fu. There's martial arts where you can learn to fight, like boxing, kickboxing, karate, those sorts of things. But when you start to get to these higher level black belts and they get into more of the advanced metaphysical, philosophical, and high level training where you're learning how to kill somebody that you can do very quickly with one blow, they're not going to teach that to everybody. They're going to, you're going to have to, you work your way up it. And Freemasonry is like that. It's it's esoteric. I mean, really what it is, it's what are the remnants of the mystery schools during the time of the Crusades. Alchemy and philosophy and these other schools were persecuted. People were witches, things like that, who were really just studying other ancient nature knowledge. People were burned at the stake, and everything went into hiding. Just recently on the Gaia Network, it's fascinating to watch this. There's the Grand Master of the Knights Templar. Everybody thought the Templars were killed off, but they weren't. And what they brought to North America is fascinating. They found the Ark of the Covenant, and there wasn't just one. They found thousands of arcs, and they were the energy system left over from the time of Atlantis that fueled and energized the planet where things could fly. And they have them, and they're hidden underground. And they're openly disclosing that now. So the doors of Freemasonry are now opening to the wisdom that they have. It's a wisdom tradition to become a Freemason, and not everybody gets to see that because a lot of Freemasons enter for the wrong reasons, and they will only get to participate up to a certain level. Whether or not they are at the top controlling the world, to be honest with you, I don't know. But I don't see it. I know that they're one of the biggest charities. They support tons of different. They're the biggest contributor to charities around the world. That I didn't experience anything but great people, men and women. So it's. I can't tell you what I learned, but I can tell you what I've experienced from that is that, yeah, 100%. The God exists, or we call it divinity. 100%. There's no doubt about it. And when we tap into that, when we actually surrender to divinity, and we give our lives over to doing something divine, right, Susanna, doing something with that, life really works. It makes life work. And one thing I can say, every time that I've ever had that painful time, that's oftentimes I resolve to, that's when prayer starts. I know I should pray more, but it's always in those times when I'm having a tough time, but I generally always get answered, and I always get help, surprisingly, even if I'm screaming at God. And I've learned to be a much deeper believer in that divine presence that supports all life, really. It's like, call it the quantum field if you want to, if you don't want to put a label on it like God. But it exists, and Freemasonry is definitely there to let you know that, the Bible and in the Western tradition, North America, England, etc., is the King James Bible is at the center of the lodge. And then in India, it's the Bhagavad Gita. China, it's the Tao teaching. So it's worldwide. Yeah, when you see someone and you can see their ring or something, ask them. It's a beautiful system of learning where you get to learn how the elements of being a Mason can be applied philosophically, and remember, the Masons were the stone builders. They built the cathedrals, sacred sacred geometry, and all of that to house really divinity, to house spirituality, to house for the spirit. And that's really what's there. And now they apply it to their morality, and there's leadership training there for sure. 100%. I mean, actually, this is something I thought was fascinating because, and I can share this, they have a constitution And I only found this because of that, was that the actual constitution of Freemasonry is basically the American Constitution. So the founding fathers where would they have learned about even what a constitution is at that time? Because it was always monarchy prior. So Freemasonry is the first place where democracy arises, and then they keep that tradition going. So, and that's their aim, is that if at any time civilization falls, it will always be able to be built back up, because that's where civilization is kind of kept, in that society. And I've learned to honor that and respect that. As much as I didn't step over any boundaries here to get myself in trouble. And I've seen nothing but good from it, from my perspective.
I have a question here. How come you said that that they were burned at the stake? Were they witches like the Freemasons?
Yeah, they were considered. They were persecuted. They basically I can't exactly remember the exact date. I thought it was the 1400s. I don't have my dates correct here, but the Pope at that time, they gained so much power. They were a part of the Catholic order. They gained so much power because of what they found in the Holy Land, that there was a time period that I've learned about, that if you wanted to change money, you had to go to a Knights Templar office to get money from Rome over to the Middle East. But that they controlled all of the sea routes, they controlled all the land routes, because they were the ones who led the Crusades, right? So they literally had the control of all of the routes into the Middle East, and so they had a lot of power. They were the first bankers. And because of that, they were persecuted. They were charged as heretics, and they were hunted down, and considered, charged that way. Yeah, it's a really interesting history.
I thought Freemasons was just. I thought they were just. I thought they were just males. Like, they're not allowed.
No. There's women. There's the Order of the Eastern Star. There's training for their kids, and so much. Is there a Freemason group for? Yes, it's the Order of the Eastern Star.
Although she did mistype. Is there a Freemason group for women? So
I'll reach out to you and send you some info.
So for women with froze.
Yeah, well, it's a men's and women organization for sure.
One thing I will say that's tongue-in-cheek in its own way is the best place to hide anything is in plain sight.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes we just don't notice what we don't have language for, or what we see every day, and don't even pay attention. Yeah.
David, I really love what you're doing here. It's great.
Thank you.
How much time does this normally run for?
30 minutes to an hour, but let's check in with Jody and see.
Yeah, I want to hear from Jody.
And if you have any questions, Jody.
So good to see you, Jody.
Good to see you too. Yeah, I think it's like a lot of things are misunderstood, is what my understanding is. Like a lot of things with Freemasonry, and it can be all to one's interpretation of how they take part in it and things like that. Because I have another friend that is also a Freemason, and I like his explanation of it. It seems like it's not for me, but it's like something that really jives with him. So it's like, I think it's all to one's interpretation of how to be a part of things like that, and why people are. It's like, whether it's like a belief system or a like you said, like a God or a universal figure that allows us to have something to believe in, to put hope and desire, I guess, into, whether it is self or it is outside of self. That's what I'm taking away.
It's one of the it's a calling. Freemasonry doesn't enroll people. It's not about, it's something you choose. You see something, and it's a what do they call those? It's like a sacred path. It's a path. You can go up to becoming a 32nd degree Mason, and it's a path. Sorry, it's a hierarchy. Yeah, but it's more like it's an initiatory path, like to learn about the levels of the 32 spinal columns. Like Jesus attained enlightenment at the 33rd, which is the brain. So it's like each one of those steps is an awakening your being. There's something they call the 7 liberal arts and sciences, which actually alludes to the chakras of the body. Those 7 spiritual laws. It's all within there, and so it's old. It brings a lot of wisdom from Egypt. It brings a lot of wisdom from Greece. And you get to, as you go through the different degrees, you get to learn about what was brought to humanity. I mean, I had no clue that this was the Knights Templar thing that I saw on the Gaia channel. I had no idea that the Knights Templar were, all of the 52nd degree Masons who were the founding fathers were Knights Templar. So the Knights Templar order I know does exist in Freemasonry, and it's something they were talking about that they have known on the Gaia network. They've known about the alien connection, that we're part of the Galactic Federation. The Earth just isn't accepted into it because we're just too violent here. We're too violent. We haven't, and it's going to be like they work on a different time scale, because things are relative in the universe. For some people, 100 years, for us, it's just a day over there. So, but it's like we're not ready to be accepted. We're violent. We're actually, we shoot down peaceful beings that actually come here we literally kill them, because we make them out to be really bad. Dr. Stephen Greer talks about that. That's fascinating. But I didn't know that the Masons knew that. So they knew about this from Egypt, and apparently, and they knew about Atlantis. They knew about the Atlantean race and how that all came to be, how they came to Egypt, and when Atlantis fell, it all moved over there. So all that wisdom moved there to Mexico, to northern Tibet. That's fascinating. I'm just beginning to learn about that, but that stuff for me lights up my life. If I would get to yesterday with Dr. Gilbert, the sacred geometry guy, I was building what they call the Merkaba vehicle, which is in Hebrew is the vehicle of the Shekinah, the Holy Spirit, and how that moves. And you can two rotating tetrahedrons, around your body, and you can. They're saying, he says you can levitate. Like you can actually. This is how they move stones. They use, these guys were moving these huge stones for the pyramids using things that cause anti-gravity, and it has to do with sound and wave formations. And you see that the frequency. Where I think we're learning a bit about that in this I am divinity thing that we've discovered, which has been pretty cool, right?
Yeah. One thing you briefly touched on there was time anomalies, and I've been delving into a lot of books by Frederick Dodson, some really interesting stuff in there. One thing he talks about is time anomalies and how he rolled back a full day. So he knew he was supposed to meet someone for a date that day, and he called her up and she said, no, that's tomorrow. And he looked at the papers and it was not the date he expected it to be. So, and I wasn't expecting to, wasn't looking for them, wasn't trying to find them. I've now experienced a few minor time anomalies to where I'm now curious to see what else could happen.
Well, that's really interesting. I had a thought about that a few years ago. I mean, if you think about when you're young, you see how relative life is, like the child from when they're born to 5, how much time they have, because their nature to time is such a short span. So they have lots of time. Where we get, for me, I'm 56, and at this point, it's like time feels like, wow, a year just went by. Oh my God, it's just like that, right? So fast. Yeah, that's one of it's not of the 7 principles of the Hermetics, but there are also 10 laws that apply, and one of those elements is the relative nature of life, and I think we see that with what we learn about in possibility, etc., and our points of view. I said our points of view even shape that. Kung Fu teaches that is to slow. Tai Chi is to slow down time. And when you actually blanket the other person that you're fighting, time actually dilates. Like it actually slows them down. If you move slow, but they're moving fast, but everything slows down in that process. But from an outside observer, they'd be like, that slow movement would throw that guy down fast. Boom, 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 boom. It would look really fast, but for him, he's just doing his slow movements. So now, good conversations. I think I would have loved to come here again. We'll love to come again, just to actually dive into the artworks or step into talking about entrepreneurship, David, or tap into some spiritual subject that, it's just a opening of the door today, right? And I'm also going to be opening up a YouTube channel. I'm not sure if I call it the Universe. Come and join me at the Universe.
It's like the Broodiverse. Yeah, Jim Brood.
Is that a podcast? Or
it is, yeah. He's a comedian. He's a comedian, yeah.
Is he popular? Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's pretty funny. Absolutely. No, we look forward to having you back here. And today has been a great conversation. Anything else for anyone? Do we leave anything on the table, Jody, Suzanna, or any closing remarks from you, Hugh?
You mentioned about your Hughesly homes too, and I just wanted to ask you about. I'm really fascinated with tiny homes, and I would love to be like you sell some of them. So I might kind of reach out to you for a conversation or something like that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. It doesn't have to be Hughesly homes. I can certainly set you up with something like that, but you do have to be prepared to live off grid if we're going to do something like that. But there are people building things like that here, but it's more expensive. So 100%. And it's something to live in a tiny home, though. I think a tiny home community would be fun. That's more.
I was actually thinking of a landmark, like tiny home community, or like a retreat center for people who would like to create that, right? So like I have a whole village of tiny homes. That's my dream. To have like a village of tiny homes to use it for a retreat center, or some like team events or something like that.
We should talk to Dustin. We should talk to Dustin about that, because he's got a property in Caslow there.
Yeah.
And he'll let us. His property is perfect for that. I wanted to also hear how's the music going, Jody. When's the next gig? Maybe it's been, and by you too, David. When are the next gig? I came. Was it last year that we came and saw you? And yeah. Is something like that coming up again? Anything coming up?
No, I am growing my Facebook group though, and we're seeing fast results. So as that momentum continues to build, who knows? I'm here to serve everyone who comes along. My focus this year is to see this grow to thousands or tens of thousands, and then an event is just a shoe-in. We could have a lot of fun. Anybody who doesn't know watching this, I'm a musician and a writer as well, so I can bring that stuff to the table and have a lot of fun with it at events. But how about you, Jody?
Yeah, I'm working on some new stuff. It's just time and money. I think it's mostly money for being an independent musician is always, you had to generate revenue in order to make the music and then have it heard. It's just it's been exciting in a new direction, coming up with new plans and opportunities to grow as a musician. So it'll just be time and money, really.
Well, looking forward to come to a show. Yeah, I mean, it was really fun.
I'm looking forward to playing the show.
Yeah, it's not like I didn't have thoughts though. I know we could do something even cooler than we did last year if we were to. But we did start planning something like October last.
What about
time.
right here? Can you do shows online and do it through this sort of forum?
Yeah, definitely could be done. Yep.
Fun.
Whether it was pre-recorded or live, we could do stuff.
Well, I mean, I
look like the.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that it can look like the Tonight Show, David. You have your music, then you have the segments, and then you have your music, and then comedy and stuff like that, right? So yeah. Anyways.
Jody's band playing there, and have a few questions and have a few hits as it goes. Why not?
Lots of opportunity.
Yeah.
We have the ability to roll videos in the middle of segments here, so we could totally do it.
I really acknowledge you for putting this together. That broke up there. I was just acknowledging you for putting this together, David. I think it's needed. It's an opportunity for people who are getting, especially for entrepreneurs who want to be heard with what they're up to and getting there. And look, let's face it, as an artist, you're automatically an entrepreneur, whether you know it or not.
Absolutely.
You may think, I don't like business, but you're not going to succeed unless you're an entrepreneur as an artist. And so what's being created here is a great opportunity. And I'd love to come, if you've got new artist friends who are business people, and have those conversations that help them move that needle forward for themselves, where they're struggling, putting those plans together. And with things like AI and the tools that we're seeing there, I know you're an expert and you're working in that field, David, too. What can actually be created to support artists to get figure out a way to do that. And I acknowledge you for the books you're writing, especially at this time, because it's a bit confusing and it's daunting for, I think, for a lot of people to make it, not only in the arts, but also as entrepreneurs. So fantastic. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for wrapping up the show. And for all of you watching out there, Sparkers, I don't know if that's what we should call you yet, but I'm working on it. Thank you for tuning in. We will conclude this live. And Hugh, we look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks so much, Dave. Great to see you, Jody, Suzanna, all the time.